Alex Hanser here. It is September 29th in the year 2018. Glad to be with you. We are just after the last full moon, so it's exciting to announce that the monetization has been returned to this YouTube channel. I'm also hoping to get some part-time work that I enjoy later on in the season, as well as next year, to speed up the paying off of the debt that I still owe for this property in southern Colorado. So glad to see you. Hope you're all doing well. We are just after the full moon, so I'm noticing a regularity of the commentary that I share, whether it be the full moon, blood moon, and certain types of feelings, strong emotions that we have as human beings. It's important to write it out and understand that we're not the only ones going through the things that we're going through. And I see a lot of narcissism on YouTube on a number of different levels. The one I'm going to address now is oh, it's just happening to me and my demographic and my ethnicity rant. And the greater reality is a lot of people are being hurt on YouTube. A lot of people are having the screws put to them on YouTube. Whether they talk about politics or whether they're doing ASMR videos. Don't know a lot about that particular genre, but it typically features younger women breathing sweet nothings into microphones, allegedly providing therapy for a world that's basically disconnected from itself. So here we have people that are in a way doing their thing and not taking it as far as what's accepted in the mainstream and still being punished. The other thing that I noticed from spending some time watching Netflix, a lot of Netflix, now it's time to bring my focus back to YouTube, because part of being demonetized for that month was pulling back from consuming YouTube. It felt certainly awkward, ladies and gentlemen, to sit through someone else's ads on another channel while seeing no ads on my own. But there's nothing really wrong with the things that we're talking about. As I mentioned in a previous video, Netflix will feature videos about the Freemasons, about Earth changes, about disasters, about the alien invasion, all the different types of versions of Project Bluebeam playing out in the modern day movies. Also a lot of Gnostic themes as well, battle of good and evil, what is this reality that we're in type of themes. So it's interesting that the things that I discuss are considered crazy, but yet it's mainstream. And one of the things that I've learned within my lifetime, and a book that I may write later will get more detailed into personal life experiences that led to this awakening. It's easy to be called crazy by people that don't understand a certain concept, but a few years may come and they're talking to people that also talk about the archons, that also talk about other things. But a few years ago, I thought I was the crazy man. And so understand that when someone calls you crazy, if someone chooses to, there's usually a root cause as to why. In some cases, they call us crazy because they're afraid of us. I had a friend in Portland that ran security at a lot of dangerous clubs, and he was called crazy too. And he said to me one time, when they call you crazy, what that really means is they're afraid of you. Now, let's translate that to the world of alternative media and the competitive sports of YouTube, where a lot of people act more like frat boys than actual YouTubers. Have you noticed that, by the way? Kind of like the frat boy mentality coming back to like a large mainstream audience, which isn't necessarily made up of college kids, but yet they act like they're frat boys anyways from an Ivy League school. I just want to point that out. I would recommend to anyone new starting out on YouTube to remember what it is, to know what it is that makes YouTube great to begin with. It's the people. It's the unique insights. It's not about conformity. So there's plenty of Johnny-come-latelys that come onto YouTube and certain topics, and they get pulled into certain individuals' perspectives on XYZ topic. And it's kind of like there's a reason why Bruce Lee almost, basically shook his head at the idea of even naming his own style Jeet Kune Do, because he understood there would be limitations to that. People would almost create a box out of it, and he wanted his style to be outside the box, if you will. So on YouTube and on the internet and Facebook, there's a lot of people that purport to be woke, awakened, but they're very much in the box. They're very much in line with Tucker Carlson of Fox News. They're very much in the line with the mainstream, while thinking that they're alternative to the mainline school of thought. And I'll also remind you that there is a counterfeit mainline school of thought and mainstream representation of the modern day rulers of the world, or intelligence agencies. So deep state is pretty much like a comic book level, along with QAnon references, along with Hamburger Gate references. There's the real conspiracy, and then there's the comic book DC Marvel version of the conspiracy, which unfortunately now is the mainstream. And so when a lot of people hear, like, oh, you're on YouTube, huh? My 10-year-old son has a YouTube channel. It's almost as if our thousands of videos are disqualified from being seen as relevant by being a YouTuber. One of the things that I've got a chance to experience going to temp labor agencies, talking to people on the street, working at various places, few people have any idea what it is that I do or this type of content. And again, there's a lot of other people that like to latch on to a content category once, of course, they've called someone crazy for a period of time, only to realize, oh, maybe I can get on that, make me some money. Maybe I'll make me some more money and get me more viewers than that motherfucker. And that's the unfortunate thing, that this is like an extreme sport in the eyes of people. This is a place to compete over what? What's the point of, oh, look, I can piss farther than that guy. We're so outside the box. I'm going to say, think outside the box. It's like there are people that say outside the box a lot, and they don't know the first thing about it. You see, because there is the mainstream media within the alternative media that's masquerading as independent when it's actually not. Counterfeit grievances. Scapegoating people in parts of the world that have already been bombed back to the Stone Age, diverting from the real forces of evil that are robbing us of our economy. It's like I went into a rant briefly when I was at a city market in the next town over. And this guy is like way too anal about everybody's receipts. And as I'm cashing out, you know, and I'm at the self-checkout machine, I used to curse those machines in the past. Now I prefer them to going through one of the actual real lines with an actual real zombie. It's like, don't ask me how I am if you don't care. Most of the time now, they're just honest about it, and they don't even say a word or even look at me. They just start running their items. But I prefer the ease of the machine as opposed to the biological zombie. And so I've got about 4 or 5 oranges, and the guy's making sure that I'm ringing up the proper amount of oranges. He's like, yep, you got 5, yep. Bro, you need to just chill down. Cool down a little bit, bro. And it's like, it was a few weeks ago or a few months ago that I was back, and he was hassling some other guy that looked well-dressed on his way to work about his receipt. And I just, you know what, Alex, I'd say to myself, it's been a while since you've just gone off in a grocery store. And, you know, it's early in the morning, it's 7:30. The only person that's behind me is like another employee. And as I go into my rant, she's like looking at me like, oh, we got another crazy one. Just nod your head and maybe he'll go away. And I went on this rant about, and this is metaphoric, because people are looking at the things that they think are important when maybe they need to look at something a little closer to home. You got these people that are working these minimum wage jobs, they're just a little bit above, and they're more concerned with someone that looks low income, that doesn't look like they're very wealthy, potentially stealing an orange, than they are about the real forces of darkness that are bankrolling our nation and, again, involved in an open genocide of indigenous people across the world that have been demonized and marked for elimination, the people that are now dying in the millions. Whether we're talking about Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Palestine, Afghanistan, other countries in Africa, and we're talking about various ethnicities. And sometimes we have situations where it seems like certain Middle Eastern ethnicities are being targeted by even including other Middle Eastern ethnicities. It's not all under the category of Arab. That's the Western way of marginalizing the world of the East. Asian, Arab, Oriental, and bring out another copy of Deliverance. The real reality of the microcultures within cultures outside the United States is far more unique and diverse than what the average American or Westerner has an understanding of. Just imagine how we're going to be demonized in the future. Remember, I've been talking about this for years. Notice I've talked about other things happening before they've actually happened. So all of this manufactured demonization of the overseas boogeyman is really on a long-term game plan to condition the world to demonize the American in the same way, whether they be a white American or just simply an American in general that had their you-know-what up there, you-know-what, while millions of people were violently removed off the planet. That's the dystopian future that we're walking into. See, I already have experience now being marginalized as something that I'm not and being punished. But thank God the monetization is back. But these are warning signs of the machine will do this. It will put you in the category of that which you're even criticizing. Oh, no, we're not with that group and that group. No, 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 YouTube. We're just simply criticizing what that group is doing. We're reporting on what that group overseas is doing. We're not with that group, but yet this system is acting like it's not sophisticated enough to discern whether we're with a group or reporting news about what that group or faction or country is involved in. This is the year 2018. This is not the year 1998. I can understand AI in 1998 being unable to discern. But if the YouTube AI bots can listen in to all the different words in this video, make a determination if a video is there or a video contains a certain amount of words that it can be flagged, that's a system that could do better. That's an AI system that doesn't have any excuses. So the real system, as it appears to me, is one that will punish people for criticizing extremism. So I will elaborate as time goes on VHX. I'll try to make it a personal goal to create a video for VHX at least one time per week. We have 21 subscribers at the moment. And so just because the monetization is back on this channel, thank God, thank the true creator of all for allowing this to happen. Had a lot of time to think about things over the course of the last month and to also let go and let God. So I was waiting to get the verdict, and I was more than fully prepared to continue doing what I have been doing, doing temp work here and there, really rough work. That's not good on the back. I'm almost 40 years old. I think I'm pretty healthy for my age, but it doesn't mean that digging ditches is fun. I don't think I liked digging ditches at 18, 20, 22. I can hear my grandfather, though, echoing in my mind, you better go out and get an education, otherwise you'll grow up digging ditches. Well, you know what? Some people may grow up digging ditches anyways to make a few bucks, even if they did go out and get an education. And that's the thing to consider. You know, there are people that actually did go through the hoops that have done far more than I have, that have spent their life in higher education, and some people have nothing to show for it but student loan debt. Other people have gone on, and they've gone on to have certain lives. There's a certain level of materialism, and those are people of a particular demographic that don't have much to do with programs like this or channels like this. By the way, I want to thank Jared that's donated here and there. That's definitely helped lubricate the wheels of this Freedom Mobile. And I say that metaphorically and literally, although I'm not in a RV at the moment. I am living off the grid. But when people donate from the heart, especially during periods in which a channel is demonetized, that means so much more. I also got a chance to see the lack of support that would come in even after my channel is demonetized. And yet there's another platform for only $5.95 and maybe one or two people signed up. And that's not to go off, but to say that, okay, this is the current level of click-through rate and audience support on a larger level that's going to show me support on this side platform. So we don't need to waste each other's time crying a bucket of tears. This is just business. I'm here to share information, right? And that's what I'm here to do. Nothing more, nothing less. If you would like to contribute to the work that I'm doing, help me break $100 a month on the Patreon. Monthly support directly from the audience. It's going to take me a few months to start generating income here on YouTube to the point where it's, you know, above 100 a month and it's able to actually do something, because it was already struggling to make I'm already struggling as it is. So when people show their support during periods in which an individual goes through their own individual depression, their own individual Great Depression, and that's what it's felt like. And that's what it felt like up until this moment. But when I woke up today at 6 o'clock, there's a note from Jared, a little donation, and I see my channel is remonetized. It brings a lot of hope back, you know, but it also brings a lot of strength individually to walk through a period of uncertainty. You know, I have this little story about going through a lot of personal stress in my own life. And see, here we are a year after the eclipse, and we went through a lot of stress. I'm talking about the one last year of 2017. A lot of us went through a lot of stress. Some people are throwing some hardcore attacks at me around August, September of 2017. And I noticed other people were going through similar things. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just little old me. Other people were going through heavy, heavy things around August 2017. Do any of you remember that period? Do any of you remember what it felt like? Let me know in the comment section down below. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it was pretty intense. And I guess it was the type of eclipse that we're not going to see for till 2024. That type of total solar eclipse. And the next one, by the way, in 2024 is going to be during the solar maximum period, a period in which we are likely, potentially, if that's what's on the plan, I believe that it is, World War III. And all of the things that will be coming around that. Also pay attention to the people that call this topic crazy. People like me crazy for talking about China as far back as 2007. And yet see how many people are going to be discussing these things in the coming years. And you will never hear, rarely, will you hear people mention my name in a positive light. To at least give props to someone that discussed it. But I also recognize that's ego, and the real power is going beyond the need to even be recognized, to contribute information, even if that information, those philosophical ideas are not even understood until we're no longer in the body. And so from that perspective, doing it for the greater good, that's going beyond simple ego, limited to this body, mind, machine, this name, Alex Ansary, this 5 cents reality. When we do something for the greater good of all, and we see it manifesting in our world even after our spirit or soul is no longer animating this body, that feels magical. Like a positive application of magic. You know, to make a contribution, and who knows how many contributions you've made or I've made with regards to the written word. I mean, we don't really have a history of YouTube and documentaries prior to the age and the advent of the television set. But what about ancient texts? What about scrolls? What about things that were left behind in the ancient world? How many of us are really just living out an echo, especially in a time-space reality where some people view a lot of things happening simultaneously? So, wrapping things up, glad to be back. I'm going to continue this, maybe experiment with a couple different backgrounds, experiment with some other things, try to get out more during this winter. Continuing to go my own way, not just in the sense that people think. Going my own way where other YouTubers might be in a clique or other individuals might be hanging around political parties or just having parties. I'm an individual that's gone his own way, that has a unique collection of content that's not plagiarizing or taking for other individuals. The content comes from my own soul, and it's a part of a greater contribution to a world that I reside in and a society that resides in this world that will reap the benefits of information left behind that those that came before them. Because I've been reaping information, reaping the rewards of accessing information that's been left behind, the clues that have been left behind from those that came before me. We talk about Alexander Chavinsky of the 1900s, who discovered the links between the solar maximum period and periods in which there were more wars, murders, and acts of civil unrest. From his actual role in the Russian Revolution as a scientist, studying sunspots, he was actually able to see the connection between wild battles in the field and what was happening with the sun. And here's a guy 100 years later that's considered insane by most people that talks about the same thing. And yet society's had over 100 years to look at things like that, not just the link between crops and solar minimum, but the links between human violence and solar maximum. So it's my honor to be one of the few on the planet with an interest in this topic that was actually brought to light over 100 years ago. And I'm interested in talking about this more and also posting more in the future at one of my side websites, solarmaxnews.com. I'm spending about $45 by the end of the day to renew alexansary.tv. And spend about $14 to renew solarmaxnews.com while letting a couple other websites go that I'm no longer maintaining. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up right there. If you want to become a monthly contributor to some of these more ongoing regular discussions with regards to spirituality and psychic protection and other things that I enjoy talking about, not an expert, but they're my favorite topics because I think that I've had a lot of experience with those topics as a result of my particular lifestyle and the topics that I speak of It's helped me learn about psychic attack. It's helped me learn about things like that because I've experienced things like that. Being on YouTube, speaking about issues that are very unpopular. That's why there's only a few hundred of you. Don't make this out to be something that it's not. This is highly unpopular content from the perspective that I share it, and there's only a few hundred of you that come back for more on a regular basis. That's not by accident. If anything, maybe that should elevate your interest, in things regarding the unseen, in contrarian ideas and outside the box ideas. And even within the arena of outside the box ideas, there are very few people into things on this level. So check out Patreon, right? Be one of the first to contribute to push that from $98 a month to $100 something a month. Please consider the value, right, in supporting independent media that you love and trust. Till next time, I'm Alex Ansary, reminding you that the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.